Well, it is official. Michael Cheika has kept his job as the Wallabies head coach through to next year's World Cup. But he will have to answer to Scott Johnson, who was today announced by Rugby Australia CEO Raylene Castle as the new Director of Rugby.
The second announcement is the appointment of Scott Johnson to the role of Director of Rugby. Scott will lead the delivery of the National High Performance Model.
It's understood Johnson will be in charge of the Wallabies' off-field responsibilities and will move into the role around mid-March. However, the future of Cheika's assistants is still up in the air.
Sponsored by Bet365.
Hello and welcome to the Super Team Show. I'm Sarah Friend, here to run you through all the ins and outs for all the Aussie teams in round 7 of Super Rugby. Now let's take a look at the Waratahs, and skipper Rob Simmons and winger Mark Nwanganitawase will start in Canberra, overcoming injuries to be named. Damien Fitzpatrick will start at hooker, the only other change to the starting 15 for New South Wales. Prop Tom Robertson also returns from injury on the bench. Hello and welcome to day 1 of the Sydney Sevens. I'm Sarah Friend and I'm joined by Tom Connor from the Australian men's 7 side. If you're going to have a punt this weekend, please do so responsibly and stay tuned to rugby.com.au for all your match highlights, previews and reviews. I'll see you next week for round 4. Well, we are back following the Super W season, Molly. We've let the dust settle there. We're heading straight into the Wallaroos season, but before that happens, we've actually got the Aussie Sevens girls competing in Canada this weekend, and you dabbled in Sevens a bit.
I did the 2015 season there.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Women's Rugby Wrap. And Molly, we're in sunny Newcastle. It's so beautiful here today, and we are one day out from the Wallaroos' first test against Japan, and the team was released this morning. Talk us through the team. Well, the gates do open at 11 a.m. tomorrow at the number 2 sports ground here in Newcastle to watch the Wallaroos take on Japan at 3 p.m. We can't wait to see you there. There's a real energy surrounding fans today as they make their way into the first ever grand final to be held outside of Victoria. Capra's players will undergo rigorous training sessions from now until the start of season, with defence on the agenda. White believes his involvement in the club can help it move in the right direction. He's hoping to shore up more support and get our community back behind our boys. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to the Boyle family. With a father and brother in league, Millie Boyle, you could say, was always destined to end up with a ball in her hand.
I played rugby league growing up through until under 12s, and then through high school I had a high school teacher who was like rugby mad, and he would make us go to trainings, and we had tournaments, and we'd go up to Canberra and play in tournaments, and then play in Sydney, and I moved to Canberra after that and started playing in the local Canberra rugby comp with Royals, so I think just my love for rugby grew from there, and then moved up to Queensland on the Gold Coast, and yeah, still playing.
Boyle made the rapid rise to the top in rugby, and this year she was one of Queensland's most dominant forwards. But it hasn't been all smooth sailing for the 20-year-old, having missed out on the 2018 inaugural Super W season due to a shoulder injury. 43 kilometres from the centre of Canberra, the Lonigans grew up on 640 hectares of property, with livestock and space for the setup of every sporting kid's dream.
After I hit my 100, I go for a dig.
But just days from round 1 of Super Rugby, that home was in serious danger as the Aurora Valley fire began to rage. The fire burned through Namadgi National Park, coming within 45 kilometres of the Lonigans' family home and putting hundreds of homes under threat. That week, when Ryan and Lachlan weren't training, they spent their time working to make sure their house survived.
Season launch, and I think the day before that the fire started up at Namadgi, and then the weather was looking pretty bad, so we sort of did what we had to do at the season launch, and then came home, cleaned the gutters out and stuff, and just sort of did what we could. We were already pretty prepared with sort of water supplies and that, but then after that I think we started a bit of pre-season, and then yeah, I think we just sort of kept training and just keeping an eye on it. It was pretty nerve-wracking, sort of going to training and then knowing that there's a fire bearing down in your house.
The fires had already displaced the Brumbies in pre-season, poor air quality forcing the squad to relocate to Newcastle early in January. As the Aurora Valley fire grew, the Lonigans were prepared to return home and fight at any moment if they got the call.